Hello everyone and welcome back. And now for something a little different. Usually on this channel I do a video on a current topic or this day in history. Tonight I thought we would take a look at one of the two major political parties in the United States. Tomorrow night we will take a look at the other. Tonight we are going to take a look at the in-government party in the United States. And that at this moment, without question, is the Republican Party. They control the executive branch of the federal government. They control one half of the legislative branch of the federal government. They control a majority of the state governor's mansions in the country and a control of both upper and lower houses in the United States state legislatures. And we're going to take a look at that party tonight and my thoughts on its future. So, first, the leaders of the party, without question, in the United States are the two heads of the executive branch. The current United States president is a Republican, Donald John Trump, and the current United States vice president is Mike Pence, also a Republican. Trump is from Florida, kind of. He's from New York, but he lives in Florida for tax purposes. Mike Pence is from Indiana. He's really from Indiana. So, Republican control, or lack thereof, in the United States House is the only place currently where Republicans are in the minority. They have 198 of 435 House seats. They need 20 seats to regain the majority, which in the United States House of Representatives is 218 seats. The Senate, Republicans currently control. They have 53 out of 100 seats. You need a majority of 51 because of how the math works in the Senate, tie-breaking votes and all. Democrats would need 4 seats to take control from Mitch McConnell as majority leader. So, in this legislative branch of government in the United States of America at the federal level, Article 1 of the Constitution, Republicans controlled the United States House of Representatives continuously from 2011 until 2019. The Republicans won control of that the House after the 2010 midterm elections, which Democrats had held since the 2006 midterms. So, the Republicans lost control of that chamber in the 2018 election. So that is the only place in the U.S. government right now where Republicans are in the minority. The Senate, Republicans have controlled since 2015. They won control of the Senate after the 2014 midterm elections. Governor's mansions. Republicans control 26 out of 50 governor's mansions. They have a majority of +1. Republicans have control of many states in this country, but not a majority of the population. We'll get into that later. One thing you might want to know about this, it's not just like rural states where Republicans are governors, like thinking maybe Wyoming or Arkansas or Oklahoma or Alabama. No, there are some places where you would be shocked to find that a Republican governor exists. And what I mean by that is if you walked up to the average person on the street and asked them, the governor of X state is of what party, and they would tell you and they'd be shocked. And those states are Vermont. Vermont has a Republican governor. He's a progressive Republican, one of the last ones, but still a Republican. Maryland has a Republican governor, Larry Hogan. And Massachusetts has a Republican governor. Both of those governors are outside of the mainstream of Republicans today, but still, they're members of the Republican Party and contribute to this 1+1 majority of governors. Now, that doesn't come with any special power per se, but it is a big bragging right for the party. All right, let's take a look at state legislatures now. Lower houses of state legislatures. Republicans control 2,773 seats out of 5,411 seats. They have a majority of plus 67 seats. So state house races are going to become very important and highly competitive in the next few years. Republicans have for a while been heavily competitive, have been heavily invested in those races, but as Democrats have been making gains in these races, Democratic activist groups and Democratic donors have become aware of their importance, especially with drawing state legislative districts, and congressional districts, and that's going to be really important in this election coming up, because 2020 is a census year. So the parties that win control of the legislature this year in the states where the legislature draws the congressional district and the state legislative districts, that's going to be very important this year. That's one down ballot race, and races to keep your eyes on this November. It could be very important for the future of the country. All right, let's take a look at state upper houses. Republicans control 1,080 of 1,972 seats up for grabs in these upper houses, a majority of plus 93. As I said, these are becoming more competitive. They have a little bit larger cushion in this vein than they do in other realms in the lower houses, but still is becoming increasingly competitive and, as I said, very, very, very important. Now, on the, how many states do you control the legislatures in? 29 out of 50 states have a Republican-controlled state House and Senate. There is a split, and those two states are Minnesota and Alaska. And there's an asterisk there. Nebraska is the unicameral legislature. They only have one house in Nebraska. They're a little odd like that. So Nebraska only has one house, and it is the upper house of the Nebraska legislature. Couple of things that I would like to emphasize here. The Republican Party is a party that is in government at the moment and has vast control, and people that are singing the siren song death of the Republican Party are overplaying things just a tad. They are very much in control of a majority of the levers of government in the United States of America right now. But the Republican Party is facing a demographic crisis in which their voters are shrinking and people self-identifying as Republicans are shrinking. And a lot of people attribute it in large part to these two and policy decisions the Republican Party has made in about the past 10 to 15 years. Younger voters are increasingly voting for the Democratic Party and went for a big way for this guy down here. I'm pointing to the Obama-Biden sign from 2008, and those younger voters have continued to vote Democratic over the years. So the future looks somewhat bleak for Republicans, but they are currently, without question, as I said, the majority in government party in terms of power in the United States of America. And one branch of government where they likely will have long-lasting influence should they lose all of this in the near future is the judiciary. Republicans have worked night and day since the election of Donald Trump to appoint Article 3 judges to the federal bench of the Constitution. That has been Mitch McConnell's number one goal, including 2 Supreme Court justices just in Donald Trump's first term. In his first year in office, in 2017, the seat that was vacated by Antonin Scalia, he appointed Neil Gorsuch. In 2018, with the retirement of Anthony Kennedy, he appointed Brett Kavanaugh. And those both were confirmed with relative ease by the Republicans. There was a titanic fight for Brett Kavanaugh, but in the end, that occurred. Neil Gorsuch was a controversial pick because Republicans held the seat open for so long during the presidency of Barack Obama, claiming that somehow presidents aren't allowed to appoint justices in the last year of their term. So that's not in the Constitution and not at all factually correct. Whether or not you want to argue on precedent, that's another debate to have. But nowhere in the Constitution does it say that a president doesn't get to appoint a Supreme Court justice in the last year of his presidency. In fact, it may have made more sense for Republicans to let Obama appoint a justice and say, this is why it's so important that you get out and vote in the presidential election. And maybe this guy wouldn't have got the nomination and taken the Republican Party off a cliff, so to say. Because that was a huge gamble by McConnell, holding that seat open. Hillary Clinton may have nominated someone once she won much further to the left than Merrick Garland. So, who knows? That is all for this video. I'll see you tomorrow when we take a look at the Democratic Party.